I'm really grateful, but it was pretty wild. It was like out of body.
Is this a drill?
Dr. Robbie is still very much a central figure in the show, but it seems like we're starting to dig a little bit deeper into other characters' personal lives. What was that process like for you? And can you tease anything from your individual storylines?
I think McKay's life is a little more settled in season 2. Ankle monitor is off. That situation, while humiliating, is sort of behind her. And I think she's thinking about existential questions, really, of what she wants her life to look like, what's missing. Maybe she wants to get laid.
I think there's something really almost the opposite for Javadi, where the pressure cooker of her life and her parents and has sort of just got more and more intense, and she's getting older and she's still doing this thing that she hasn't really chosen herself yet. And I think so those relationships are sort of like coming to a head, I think, in season 2 more than ever, which is exciting. And I think that we're sort of seeing Javadi we're seeing her sort of fail this season and fall and not get back up quite as quickly as maybe she needs to be here. And I think that she's been brilliant for so long that falling and not getting back up and being a disappointment to maybe the doctors around is like a really terrifying thing for her. And I think we'll sort of see her grow through that if she does.
You're a very empathetic soul, but this is the ED, it's not for the faint of heart.
How would you describe your character's relationship with the central figure of the show? It becomes evident pretty quickly that it's going to take a few hours to work things out between him and Dr. Al-Hashimi. And what about Dr. Abbot? Are they still on good terms?
For Dr. Abbott, one thing that is evident to me is Robbie looks at him as an equal. It's not always easy to talk to Dr. Robbie. He doesn't listen great. And I think one of the characters that can get him to listen is Abbott, although it's not always successful.
Yeah. And I think, as you've seen throughout the first few episodes of the season, Dr. Robbie and Dr. Al-Hashimi have radical different approaches to medicine. She represents this more modern, progressive approach, and he represents the more traditional, as some might call old school approach. And they don't always agree. There isn't always this sort of like, they don't always work in harmony, but throughout the season, the sort of dissonance is what creates interesting jazz in their dynamic. They ultimately learn a lot from each other and hold on tight in their sort of point of views. It's just goes to show that you don't have to agree with somebody. You don't have to have the same approach in order to have the same goal. They certainly have the same sort of goal in mind when it comes to the hospital and patient care, but just wildly different approaches.
Even the occasional miracle. The most important thing?
Just like the social media thing with Dr. J, right?
I'm very excited about the social media element. I think people are going to have their perceptions of it in episode, 1, 2, when it gets sort of introduced. And I think that it's really easy to go to the sort of malign social media, but I think that there's a really interesting perspective generationally on these many doctors. And Javadi is the youngest doctor, and technology isn't all bad. You know, the technology is really a neutral thing, so she could be doing, we don't know what her social media is. It could be really so many things. And I think that she's somebody who really tries her hardest to leave a positive impact on the world. I hope that people will play with people's expectations with that, I think, with the social media element. Yeah.
Because it will never stop Ultra.
Do you have any like personal biggest challenges this time around?
I found it challenging to block out the reception of season 1.
Yeah.
I found that how big it got and how often I was getting recognized was making me anxious on set. And so I had to like go off social media and stuff. But I've never been in this situation before. Never.
No,
yeah.
me neither.
I'm really grateful. But it was pretty wild. It was like out of body.
I've never done anything where I didn't know what was happening. Like this season was very like script by script.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was really like what's going to happen every week, being like, I wonder what's going to happen next episode. It was really like exciting, but also a fun challenge. And also, you know, Victoria has a really emotional day. Victoria has a really intense day. And I think that was, it was a really fun challenge to be like, okay, it's been only 5 minutes. How much can you recover from what you've just experienced as a young physician, learning to compartmentalize, which is the most important thing you can do as a doctor.
Yeah.
And being okay with having a character just fail and try again.
And then go back to the compartment after you've compartmentalized and try to have some self-care. Try to not have it eat you alive.
I don't know how doctors do it.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
It's intense.